Revelator Aggregator. First Lady Aggregator and I are staying in a hotel, and you get complimentary newspapers when you stay in a hotel. 'Cause I hardly ever read newspapers. Like Mark Twain said, I'd rather be uh, uninformed than misinformed. Well, I'm paraphrasing.
They don't need to know all of that. They know goodness well that the hotel got newspapers. Anyways, moving on.
So, moving on. Or moving on. Picked up a copy of the SJW, the Wall Street Journal Weekend Edition. And there's 2 or 3 stories that I'd really like to cover. One of them is this meltdown and implosion of the Democratic Party in Virginia. And I think that goes way deeper than Virginia, and I've got some quote-unquote conspiracy theory ideas about it. But the other's pretty straightforward. It's about old Christie. And the headline, get the headline for you, Christie was nearly named Chief of Staff. Former New Jersey governor takes aim at Kushner, whose father he prosecuted. And I've got some thoughts about this. So I may do a couple videos. The first one's going to be about old Christie. So here we go. Jared Kushner is Chabad Lubavitcher. His dad was some kind of big wig at the Port Authority on 9/11. He's a bad cat. So that's thought number 1. What's hilarious, though, is that the deeper you delve into this particular news item, the more apparent it becomes that the whole thing is simply a puff piece engineered by former Governor Christie. It also becomes apparent that one of the main purposes of this puff piece is to, on the low, promote a new book written by Governor Christie called Let Me Finish, which just sounds like a really pompous name for a book, in my humble opinion. The governor and the SJW WSJ are trying to be slick and on the low in hyping Let Me Finish. Near the middle of the article it reads, Mr. Christie had been preparing to potentially join the administration too. His agreement to write his new book, Let Me Finish, included a clause that said if he took a job in the federal government that prevented him from promoting the book on tour, publication would be delayed. People familiar with the matter said, I wonder what people who could possibly be familiar with the matter that they might be quoting here. Could their mystery source be the governor himself? See what they did there? In an article purportedly about how Christie was nearly named as Trump's chief of staff back in December, they make reference to a new book out by Christie, and then add that the book was released last week. And apparently, that's how Christie and the SJW WSJ thinks that renegade marketing works in today's crowded marketplace. Although I must say, I think personally that it's a little heavy-handed, but whatever. Now, let's get into all these allegations that Christie was nearly named chief of staff. The article reads, after the former New Jersey governor interviewed with President Trump on December 13th, the signs seemed so favorable that several White House officials say they were confident that he was the pick. That seemed even more certain the next day when the president's daughter and senior aide, Ivanka Trump, called Mr. Christie's wife, Mary Pat, and expressed enthusiasm for his joining the West Wing. People familiar with the matter said, again, we have these mysterious people that say things to the SJW WSJ. Who could have been familiar with a phone call, an allegedly intimate phone call between 2 people? Probably one of those people. Probably Mary Pat or Governor Chris Christie himself. I had been aware that Chris Christie had prosecuted Jared Kushner's daddy, but I wasn't aware what he prosecuted him for. But don't worry, Governor Christie, through his mouthpiece, the SJW WSJ, breaks it all down. In both the book, remember the book? The book's what this article is really about. In both the book and his promotional tour, Mr. Christie takes aim at Mr. Kushner, laying out tense dealings between the two, beginning with the 2016 campaign. A decade earlier, Mr. Christie prosecuted Mr. Kushner's father, Charles, for witness tampering, campaign finance violations, and tax evasion, resulting in a guilty plea. Wow, sounds like a real snuggle bear, that Charles Kushner. But you know what they didn't prosecute him for? His role in the events of September 11th, 2001. No. All that got swept right under the rug. Per this SJW WSJ article, Jared Kushner, quote, also offered similar encouragement over the phone to Mr. Christie while Mr. Trump was settling on a choice, the people said. These people, quote unquote, the Christies, also claimed to the SJW WSJ that Jared had called Chris. Probably the best part of the article, though, and when it really crystallized for me that it had all been engineered by Chris Christie and or his people, was the paragraph where it reads, through a spokesman, both Mr. Kushner and Ms. Trump declined to comment. One person close to the couple, wonder who that could be, said their supportive calls to the Christies, quote, showed how big they both were, and that if this was the president's decision, they would support it. Well played, Javanka. I'm not crazy about y'all, but well played. Do y'all see what they did there? They made themselves look so big, and in a backhanded, shady kind of way, made Chris look kind of petty. And they're basically saying, yeah, this is not true, but we'll play along. And doesn't it make us look like big people? Because nobody manipulates the media like President Orange Guy and his kindred. The moral of the story, Chris Christie tried his best to pimp the SJW WSJ, and using just a modicum of discernment, I saw through it. So I'm assuming other people saw through it. And it just comes across as looking sad. Tune in next time when we finish decoding these headlines in the SJW WSJ weekend edition for 9 February and 10 February 2019. Until then, Father God bless you all, Jesus Christ saves, and stay positive.